Welcome to Dreadnought Mondays. We're here today with Cody Manning. Cody, appreciate you taking the time to be here today. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
But yeah, so I am in the financial industry. I help families win the money game and make sure that they're protected and on track for retirement. I grew up in a small town called West Haven. Many people might know of Hooper or Roy that are right next to it. So I've been living pretty much in the same area for my whole life, pretty much. Went to Salt Lake for a couple of years, came back, just like the country myself. And one thing that we don't have out here is financial services, and that's why one of the reasons why I got into financial services, because my parents, back when I was in Salt Lake, they said, "Hey, you need to start saving for retirement." So I was like, "Okay, perfect, I'll do that." As an 18-year-old would say, right? Then a couple of years go by and I'm like, you know what? I should probably do that. So I go see a financial professional, start putting into this retirement account based on my age. That's all they did. It was like, oh, well, you're 18 or you're 20. Well, based on your age, this is the product you want. I'm like, okay, you're not going to give me like anything else? Like, nope, that's it. Okay, perfect. Well, let's just start sucking away money. So I start sucking away money, and a couple years go by, and all I do is lose money. I'm thinking there's got to be a better place to put my money, and so that's when I went and I was researching companies. I was looking for products and services that could actually benefit and do what I wanted, and that's where I am right now, is in the financial services industry with Revolution Financial Management. And so, yeah, that's where I'm at. A little bit of other background. I did IT work before that, but thought I was going to be a network engineer, but no, rather not. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Awesome. So you mean to say there's not a one size fits all in the financial industry?
Correct. Yeah. So there are different strategies, different processes that you could actually take in order to get where you want to be. And the process that I was given at first was definitely not the process I wanted. I wanted something that it was like a savings account, but made interest like the market. And that's exactly what I found. I was able to get it. And yeah, and it just depends on what people like. Some people like the market, where they like that roller coaster ride. Some people don't. So there's all sorts of different stuff they could have.
Awesome. It's amazing what a little bit of homework will help you learn.
Yes, exactly.
So what attracted you to being an entrepreneur, becoming an entrepreneur?
Oh, well, I'd have to say my dad was kind of a part of it. I always wanted to grow up and be like him, and he was in the shipping department of this company. And later on, we just keep finding out that they just treat him like crap, right? They don't give him enough hours off. They don't, and when they do, they keep calling him to have him work on something that someone can't do, right? Besides him. And so for me, it was more of I want time and freedom when I want time and freedom. And a lot of people have this outlook of entrepreneur, like right from the get-go, you actually have time for yourself. You actually don't. You actually provide more. You have to put in like 80 hours a week just to get things going. Once you do that, a couple years down the road, then you're going to have that freedom of time and money. But a lot of people think that when you decide to become an entrepreneur, that you don't have you don't have a boss, and so you have all this free time, and all that free time, you waste it. You don't actually start working. You don't build your business. And that's one of my first mistakes when I first started was I went full-time to be an entrepreneur, left my job, my W-2 job, and I thought I had all the time in the world. In reality, it wasn't. I need to be putting in 80 hours a week to make sure my business was sustainable, and I didn't. So I had to go back and get another job to support myself. But that's one thing that kind of scares people, I think, because they love that secure feeling of having a paycheck. And but what drove me to entrepreneurship, sorry to go back to your question, is mainly is just because I didn't want to answer to anybody. I wanted to answer to myself, and I wanted to take the time off that I wanted with my family, and that way I could do what I wanted when I wanted. And I'm definitely on the path to do that right now. I'm not there quite yet, but I'm definitely on the path.
Awesome. So what I've gathered from that is just it's worth it to you, right? For that, put in those extra hours, make those sacrifices now to give you
Yes.
that freedom.
And especially when I'm single. I mean, come on, like how much of a better way is it when you're single? You don't have the old ball and chain, as they put it, but and so what a better time to actually do entrepreneurship, have a side hustle, and go after it, especially when you're single. That way you don't have all the stresses of a relationship quite yet. Eventually we'll get there, but not right now.
How did you get started? You mentioned your dad was kind of part of the deciding factor, influence on your decisions to become an entrepreneur. Was that like what triggered it mostly, or?
Well, I've always kind of wanted to see what it was like to run a business of my own. Before I even went into the financial industry, I thought I was going to have a computer business. I actually had a computer business for it was probably a couple months, but started doing that, and I was like, man, this will be awesome. I'll be able to make a ton of money. I could build custom computers, which I thought that was what I wanted to do at the time. Which I mean, it was. But then I started thinking, you know what? Dell, HP, Apple, they've already done this out of their homes, and they're pretty much making computers for everybody else. And I kind of wanted to do like gaming computers, and I was into games a little bit, but not too much. And so I kind of lost my enthusiasm about it. But that got me a little bit of taste of business and how it was like to own a business. And for me, it's more of how am I able to attain my financial freedom if I'm stuck at a W-2 job where I'm working for somebody else, making their dreams come true, but yet I can't make mine. I want to travel the world, not everywhere, but I want to travel to certain places. And I want to be able to, take my family with me. Something that I haven't done at all.
I hear that. Now you kind of touched on it. Another question. This kind of is a good segue into mindset. What you touched on it a little bit. What was your mindset when you first started? When you first became an entrepreneur? You kind of mentioned, you think you'd have all the time in the world.
Yeah. That's exactly what I thought. I was just like, I'm becoming an entrepreneur. I'm going to have a ton of time. I can do the stuff I want to do because I like to work around the house too. And so I ended up doing quite a bit of projects around the house, which when you start doing projects around the house, you get sidetracked and start doing those instead of your business. And so that's what kind of came down to it is I kept myself busy, but not busy in the right way. And so we all have these good ambitions. We have all these good goals. And that's what attracted me to part of the entrepreneurship, is so I could, again, do what I wanted to do. And when I started, that's what I thought I could do right from the get-go. So yeah, it has been rocky before. And it's not going to be smooth sailing from here on out either. It's going to be, ups and downs in the future, just like any business, right? So especially with this COVID stuff going on right now, right? So
Yeah.
just trying to switch your mentality of, oh, I need to go to the office, but you can't go to the office. So you have to kind of change your routine a little bit. So once you start changing your routine a little bit more, you're more, I think, you're more easily to adapt to things. And so you're always having to adapt and change things in order to stay prevalent and be important, I guess. Relevant, I think that's the word. Anyways, but yeah, change is necessary. It's going to happen. And so if you make certain changes along the way and you keep making changes instead of staying in one place, you're going to be successful.
Awesome. Yeah, as long as you don't quit. Now, touch a little more, if you would. From what I've heard, a lot of people like their jobs because like you said, it was secure. Steady paycheck. Knowing where they need to be, what time, what to do. Versus what you mentioned with being an entrepreneur. You've got other things that aren't necessarily bad things. They're just not the time to be focused on those things, like your house projects. Kind of touch on the mindset of W-2 and entrepreneur.
Okay, so as an entrepreneur, you take ownership in what you do. That's what you should be doing. But if you grew up as a W-2 employee, which most people are, because they go through this school system that tells them, oh, you need to get A's, you need to go to college, you need to be here at a certain time, you need to do your homework, and it prepares them to be that W-2 employee. Whereas with a W-2 employee, they don't take ownership. They have like a renter mentality where they're renting from their job. So all they're doing is they're just putting in some time. They may do some great things, but sometimes they don't take that ownership of their life. That's how I think about it. And people may disagree, which is fine because there's no one right way of thinking this. But with W-2, I think that's, once they get there, they think they can't get anywhere else. Like they can't be the business owner, they can't be an entrepreneur. And I think that's false. I think that they can become an entrepreneur if they want to. And I'm not saying a W-2 job is bad. I'm saying there are better things than a W-2 job. And some people love their W-2 job. By all means, keep there. I mean, you're making the world run, which is fine. Like there's nothing wrong with that at all. But for me, it was more of W-2 job. Am I going to be stuck here for the next 30 years, 40 years and retire from this place? I don't know if I really want to, because then, you got to get up at a certain time. You got to be there at a certain time. You got to work for X amount of hours. And if things don't get done, then you have to work overtime. And so for me, the mentality of an entrepreneur versus a W-2 person, because the entrepreneur is always changing, always evolving. They've got the self-development for them. They keep increasing their mindset. whereas the W-2 employee may do a little bit of it, but not a lot, because they're at a job. They think they're set, and so there's a couple things about that.
And I like how you phrased that. They take ownership. They didn't sit on their couch and wait for someone to hand it to them. It didn't come in the mail. They had to grasp that, take the bull by the horn, so to speak, and go after it and find the knowledge that they needed, or find the there's lots of good books and resources on being an entrepreneur and things to help you, but if you don't go look for them or ask people about them or read them, it's not going to make a difference. So you got to take that ownership, take that initiative. So I like how you phrase that. They take ownership. And even in the W-2 world, you could still take some of that ownership and improve yourself. If that's what your passion is, whatever, whether it's just to improve yourself and to help your family get in a better situation, you still could take that ownership and what's the word I'm looking for here? Improve, grow, learn.
Exactly. And there are many ways that you could do that at a W-2 job. That's how you get promotions. That's how you get to better positions, right? And so, ownership is for both, but I feel like entrepreneurs take more of it than a W-2 employee would.
Right.
Yeah, because I have friends that go to work and then they go home and they play video games and that's all they do. I'm like, and for me, I don't know if I could stand doing that every single day for 30 years. I mean, once in a while, I'm okay with video games. I'm okay with, taking a break and playing games with the family, but not every day.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Just 'cause you need those breaks too and whatever, if you still have your hobbies and whatnot. And, I was saying, if that's your passion, a W-2 job, and, and you like what you do, but you can still take ownership. And like you said, typically entrepreneurs who, run their own business and whatnot normally do take that ownership, even a lot of times out of force, if you will. Because if they don't, if they don't evolve, like you said, then they're not going to go anywhere. They're going to sink. If you don't swim, you're going to sink. So some of that might be out of necessity, but a lot of times people find that the desire starts to take over. I know many people, once they get to a certain point where they don't need per se financially to take that ownership more, but their desire, their passion, their urge to learn more, is there, and it keeps fueling the fire.
Oh yeah, for sure. Definitely.
What are some of the things that have helped you improve your mindset?
Ooh, that's a very good question. Reading self-development books, or listening to them. For me, at least, I like to listen to Audible, especially if I have a long drive. I'll listen to Audible, so that helps out quite a bit. Also, you got to hang around the people that want to also improve themselves as well. You're a makeup of the 5 people that you're closest with, and for me, I want to make sure I'm with the 5 people that want to improve their situation and help others improve their situations. And that's what I strive to do. I've noticed that if I'm not with those 5 people, that I deteriorate, feels like to me. I'm not deteriorating like physically, but mentally, I feel like I'm deteriorating because I'm with these people that I have already passed their level and they're trying to bring me back down. So make sure 5 closest friends are those that are wanting to keep improving. Another thing that has helped me along the way is having a coach and making sure that I have accountability in what I'm um, in everything that I want to do and say. And so having that accountability is extremely important. So having a coach to coach me along the way, help me through the rough spots, that is definitely um, one of the ways that I've been doing self-improvement. Oh, and also go to big events. go to these networking events. Go to these um, events that are there to help you become a better person. Um, there was one that I had. It was called Mountaintop Experience, and it was great. It was 3 days, like 3 full days of stuff, and it was just like getting down deep down inside of you. Probably something that you knew was there, but didn't know that was the reason why. and, I mean, those are like the best experiences that you could ever have, and to help self-improve yourself.
Because you're surrounded by people like-minded that want to grow. You know, are at stages where you're at, stages where you've been, stages where you want to be. You know, so you're surrounded by like-minded and forward-thinking people.
Exactly. And you're not all going to be in the same spot. You're going to have people that are further ahead of you. You've got people that are behind you, and they're all wanting to improve. So you can actually, help the person that's, behind you and help them get to your spot, your level. And then the people that are ahead of you, you can strive to be more like them. So it's kind of nice.
Exactly. Yeah, you got a mix, and not only that, from my own personal experience and people I've talked to, you know, you have people from all different backgrounds and all different experiences. You know, or some people will just click with people better. You know, from their experiences or interests, hobbies, things like that. They find a way to click and connect and help each other a lot more.
Oh, exactly. And you'll find out some cool things about other people that makes that connection. Yeah, exactly. And sometimes you think, oh man, and this is where the natural man comes inside, and you judge somebody before you actually know them, and once you get to know them, you're like, man, we are a lot of alike. Like, how come I didn't know this before? But it's because you may have prejudged them. So don't prejudge either. Wow.
Yeah, especially on yourself. You know, and this kind of will feed into our next one is confidence. You know, a lot of people are, oh, I can't do that, or I don't know this, or I don't know how to do this. You know, or like when you talked about the big events, you go and you sit in the very back row and hide in the corner, and as soon as the event is done, you're out the door. Um, you know what is confidence, or what impact does confidence have, or and what difference have you seen between when you started and where you're at now?
Well, what you just described was what I was 4 years ago. Sit in the back, don't talk, and don't draw any attention to yourself, because that was the last thing you wanted. um, Along the way, I have become a person that wants to go to the events and wants to engage, and it wasn't easy. I was kind of I was kind of a shy, timid person before. I kind of still think I am, um, a little bit, but definitely not as much. So as you keep going to events, as you keep reading books, as you keep bringing in people that can influence you for the better, that will get you to a point where you can actually have confidence in yourself. One thing, I think the number one main thing about having confidence is to do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. So if I say I'm going to contact one person a day, I need to contact that one person a day. Now, say I start it and I do 3 days in a row and I forget the fourth day. That just dropped my confidence down. And now I have to start over. And it's kind of like it's compounding, like compounding interest, where you put in $1, you put in another dollar the next day. So now, and then the third day you put in another dollar. So now you have $3. But then you go out and spend it. So now you have to start over again. And I find it much easier to keep the momentum going. And that boosts my confidence way high. So for me right now, I'm contacting at least 5 people a day. And some days I don't get to 5, right? So you also have to take a look at it. Even if you did make them, maybe there was one day that you fell short, you didn't get there. At least do something to maintain that confidence. So on those days that I don't do 5, I'm at least doing 2 or 3. I actually have to at least do 1. Because if I do 0, then my confidence drops. So at least keep moving forward and don't be so hard on yourself either. So if you happen to do 0, don't be so hard on yourself. I think we all try to be perfectionists and we want to know what we should be doing and what we shouldn't be doing. That sometimes you get caught up in thinking, oh man, I have to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect. We're all human. We're not perfect. But yeah, that's how you can grow your confidence, is by continually improving yourself and getting into a habit. And I can't remember the last part of your question. I think that answered it, but there was something else on my mind and I totally forgot about it.
Well, I like that, and it could be on different things, just keep the commitments you say, even if it's to yourself, today I'm going to walk an extra block, or today I'm going to drink another bottle of water, or things. It could even be just things that you say you're going to do for yourself. It doesn't have to be some big gigantic commitment to a bunch of people. For a start, it's just building that habit, which will build more confidence, which will grow, and then up and up and up and up and up.
Oh,
and then,
I just remembered it. So you don't have to be perfect. You're never going to be perfect if you wait. Go out and just do it. So if you just go out and just do it, you'll eventually learn. Failure is the best teacher of success. So, I mean, there's tons of people, every successful person has failed at least once or twice, probably a ton more, actually, if we look at it really deep, right? And that's how they became successful. So even if you fail one day of not, drinking an extra bottle of water, going the extra mile, don't be so hard on yourself, because failure is part of the process of getting to success.
I like that. I like how you brought up accountability. And it's good to have an accountability, be accountable to someone. You could have different accountability partners for different areas of your life, whether that's business, whatever. But something that I find that a lot of people overlook, or they don't take it seriously enough, Like let's say that you, Cody, were my accountability partner for something, and if I don't do it, it's not really going to affect you. I'm the one that's going to pay the price ultimately. Also, people play it off, oh, I just didn't do it this week, but no, it's you're paying the price, whatever that price may be. So yeah, we're not perfect. I'm not going to beat myself over it, but at the same time, I'm gonna, if I want these results, I got to stick to it.
Oh, exactly.
Because it's you're the one that's going to suffer for it, essentially, whatever that it may be. you know but yeah, I'm going to fail. When I first went to meetings and I walked up to people to introduce myself, I made a complete fool of myself the first half a dozen times, but I kept doing it and get better and better and better. And then I was more confident, and I went to bigger events and did more stuff. um Couple ending questions, and then we'll finish up here. What are some of the biggest challenges you've had with being an entrepreneur so far?
Ooh, man, you come up with some good questions, man. Oh, man, some of the biggest challenges. There was one, the confidence. That was one of the biggest ones that I had. Was confidence in myself. And so that was one of the biggest ones. Oh goodness. Overcoming the fear of rejection was a bigger one, or another big one for me. And I still have it, but it's not as prevalent and it's not as strong for me now. But that is something that I have learned to overcome, and I'm still learning to overcome again and again and again. And so those are some of the challenges. Another challenge is my relationships. You find new friends, right? Some friends, they see you in your business, and they either think, great job, I'm happy for you, and I'll stick by your side, or they're going to say, what a loser. And why are you doing that? I'm not going to be your friend anymore because I don't believe in those beliefs anymore. Or I don't even believe in what you believe in now, right? So you got the ones that are going to move forward with you, and then you got the ones that are just going to stay behind. And it just really depends on their mindset, right? If they are always looking to learn, or if they're just kind of sitting on the couch, right? And not necessarily they're sitting on the couch. That's just how I view it from my standpoint. So new relationships, ending old relationships, also relationships with your immediate family members. Sometimes I made some big decisions and decided, hey, you know what? I've got to go to this event, so I cannot come to my brother's wedding. That almost turned into an argument because I decided to go to, I mean, I had been planning it for the whole year, going to this big event, and I knew I needed to be there for myself and for my team. And thankfully, my brother was able to move it a week. So I was still able to attend my brother's wedding, but sometimes the tension there between family members can be quite serious sometimes. So that is also going to be a challenge. Maybe not as big for a lot of people, but sometimes it's going to be bigger than what I had. I mean, mine was I felt like it was not as big as some other people's, but that's one of the challenges there. So I think those are pretty much the main challenges that I've had and that I've recognized, and I know that I've overcome and still am overcoming.
It's a never-ending process, that's for sure.
Exactly.
And last question, what would you say to others thinking about becoming an entrepreneur or in the beginning stages of entrepreneurship?
Okay, perfect. I love this. So if you're thinking about being an entrepreneur, and maybe really think about what you want to accomplish, because when you start down the path of entrepreneurship, you need to have very strong reasons why to keep moving forward, because there are going to be days where you just want to flat out quit. You throw your hands up in the air and you say, okay, God, I quit. and those are the days when you need the strong whys the most. So for me, retiring my parents, making sure my future family is protected, even though I don't have anyone right now, I know that that's one of my main reasons. And then service to others. Like, yeah, I could serve in certain places, in certain areas, but not the impact I want. I want to be much bigger than just going to the food bank for an hour or two. I would like to actually have a bigger impact. So those are some strong reasons why. There's others that I won't mention here, but yeah, definitely have a strong why before you start in the path of entrepreneurship. Another thing is, what do you like about entrepreneurship? Do you want the freedom of time eventually? Do you want the financial freedom? And then, or do you like a secure paycheck? Some people like the secure paycheck, which is totally fine. So you got to ask yourself some questions on what you like, what you want, what you're willing to sacrifice. You're going to be sacrificing time, money to become an entrepreneur. And some people don't want to sacrifice that time and money. They would rather spend it doing something else with their family, or, maybe working. Who knows? But those are some of the bigger sacrifices, and some other sacrifices too, like, maybe missing a brother's wedding. You got to success demands sacrifice. And those are some of the things that you have to put into your mind and be like, am I willing to do that? Because if you're not willing to do that, then I'd say just stay at your W-2 job. Just stay at your job. Because if you're not willing to sacrifice what success demands, then it's better off that you just stay where you're at and then deal with what you have. Like, live within your means and make sure that you can provide for your family like that.
Awesome, I love that. Yeah, there will be times that it will be a hard decision. It will pull, it won't just be financial, it won't just be physical, it'll be mental, it'll be emotional, it'll be spiritual, it'll be all the above.
You're telling me, brother. Oh man.
And it's gonna be difficult. It's gonna be a really rough patch. There's some people, like you mentioned before, that'll jump off the bandwagon, and your best friends will become mere acquaintances again, but awesome. I do appreciate your time here. Thank you, Cody, for taking the time to be with us again, making that sacrifice.
Hey,
joining us.
It was well worth it.
And I appreciate that. This has been great. Really powerful stuff. Really, really great things shared with us. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem, Kenny. Thanks for having me on. It was a pleasure.